So I know a lot of people for a long time have been calling for the car market crash, stock market crash, everything's going to crash, real estate too, but it never seems to happen. Well, this just came in July, and I think we're starting to finally see statistics that are pointing to at least a correction at minimum in a bunch of different markets. This came in from Automotive News, and this is really, really alarming statistics compared to even just 1 year ago. So look at this. A record 19% of new car buyers in the second quarter committed to a monthly payment of $1,000 or more, according to Edmunds. And this actually points to a bigger problem in the car market, which is car prices are so high, but I think that's partly due because of lending. And we're going to talk about that, why. I mean, really, banks and the lending terms are what's ruining car prices and allowing these manufacturers to build more things with massaging seats and all these features, and then they just raise the price because they can. So this says new car buyers in the second quarter also set a record for the highest share of loans with terms 84 months or longer. Roughly 22% of buyers who financed a loan signed up for an extended term. That's up from also 18% a year ago. So 22% of buyers signed up for an 84-month or longer loan, and 19% of new car buyers are over $1,000 a month. I don't even know what to say. I mean, you'd have to be in such a high income bracket to truly afford that and save for retirement and be like financially sound, which that's not probably what's happening here. I mean, it's crazy. We're not talking about just YouTubers and people that have, write-offs for their business. I'm talking about normal people that probably shouldn't be doing this, and it is going to turn into a catastrophe. And we haven't even seen tariffs really affect the prices yet. That's what they say here. Consumers are continuously stretching to afford new vehicles in this market. While tariffs haven't directly driven these Q2 numbers, they are certainly not going to make things easier for shoppers moving forward. We're already seeing General Motors stopping production because they have so much stock. They're actually trying to throttle it now. What do you think's coming next? Going to be layoffs? You're seeing Nissan close plants, all these companies. They're going to lay people off, close plants. They're going to hit the middle-class people before they ever, strip away anything from their CEOs, their board, whatever. And what bugs me about articles like this, they say it's clear that buyers are pulling the few levers they can control to manage affordability. Please don't shop by monthly payment. This is the problem. This is why manufacturers keep building trucks with massaging seats for $70,000, $80,000. And this is the problem with our country. These manufacturers are never going to stop raising prices. If the lending terms continue to, go out 84, 96 months, and if the interest rates stay reasonable, they're going to keep building this stuff upwards of $100,000, $120,000 because people are buying them. I think that's going to change this year. I think this is the year where it's all slowing down. We're finally starting to see like inventory in stock amongst all manufacturers other than maybe Toyota. And that's planned. Toyota could fill their lots if they wanted to. They're being very smart about their inventory. And this is where it gets really scary and even more interesting. They say another record was set. The proportion of consumers at least 90 days late on their loans rose 1.4% in the first quarter, a record for that time period. That beat the 1.3% a year earlier and during the recession era, first quarter of 2009. So remember back in 2009, 2008 crisis, the same thing sort of happened, but nobody's really talking about it now because sales numbers have been, relatively decent for manufacturers. They're not selling as many trucks and cars, but their profit margins are better. So everybody's kind of happy. I think we're headed for a situation where if they actually scrutinize lending the way they should and don't give everyone and their mother a loan, and they don't let everybody have an 84-month or 96-month loan, I think the whole thing's going to come tumbling down. And they shouldn't be underwriting these loans if what we see is just rising delinquency rates. And then you see the statistics on one side saying, hey, there's a problem brewing with delinquencies and auto loans. And then you see reports coming in from Cox that say auto credit access improves again in June. And here again, they talk about, so the approval rates for loans increased by 70 basis points. The subprime share, the share of loans extended to subprime borrowers, rose 10 basis points, indicating a slight but continued loosening of credit standards for higher risk consumers. Gee, I wonder if this problem's going to continue to exist. Yes, it will. And then the worst statistics in here, the long-term loan length. The share of loan lengths with terms greater than 72 months increased by 80 basis points. Again, just what we talked about before in that automotive news article. Negative equity share. The share of borrowers with negative equity held steady at 54.8% in June. So over 50% of buyers have negative equity in their vehicles. What could go wrong with this situation, right? To supply even more negative equity in the market, down payment percentage, the average down payment percentage declined by 40 basis points. Every single trend going in the wrong direction for sustainability of a market. And when you look at days supply, really the only company, Toyota and Lexus, both have 39 days and 41 days respectively days supply for new inventory. Everyone else is 60 days and above. Audi's all the way up there at 133. So there's plenty of supply in the market, and the supply numbers are going up. Good news as well, the used market supply numbers are going up. So it's actually bad, though, in the case of negative equity, because when we see supply numbers rising for new vehicles and used vehicles, that means we're probably going to see more incentives and cheaper pricing. More incentives and cheaper pricing is going to mean more negative equity in the market, more delinquencies on loans. I think it's going to create a storm of things coming. And it's not just like automotive news and Cox and all these people sort of warning that this is coming. This is coming in from Forbes, and the perspective is someone that's just looking at markets to invest in. It's not like an automotive news perspective. Jim wrote this article on Forbes. They're skipping car payments, and that's the final warning sign. And this kind of goes into the broader economics of the United States right now, and how everybody says, oh, everything's fine. And you look around at prices of things, and it just doesn't feel fine for the middle class. They say the headlines say inflation is easing and jobs remain strong, but consumers are skipping car payments. The Fed claims to be data-driven. But if you're watching behavior, not just backwards-looking numbers, the signals are showing. Last month, he highlighted how there were a bunch of mortgage delinquencies that were rising fast. Now we are seeing it again in auto loans. Delinquencies, especially among subprime borrowers, are spiking. This matters. People will skip everything before they lose their car. That's how they get to work. If they're missing payments now, the strain is already severe. The Fed says it's data-driven, but when consumers start skipping car payments, it's no rounding error, it's a flashing alarm. LendingTree reports 5.1% of Americans are now delinquent on auto loans, with 2% at least 30 days late and nearly 1% over 90 days late. And again, we're looking a lot like the last financial crisis. Subprime auto delinquencies have now surpassed 2009 levels, reaching a 15-year high, according to Fitch. Experian shows 30-day plus delinquencies have jumped nearly 40% year over year in the lowest credit tier. That's kind of normal because it's subprime, but even prime borrowers are falling behind. That alone tells you that this isn't confined to the fringe anymore. The Fed reports auto loan balances have crossed $1.6 trillion, with an average monthly payment hitting a record $750. Now, I don't know about you, but I've had a past where when I was younger, I bought a bunch of vehicles that I probably shouldn't have bought, and I used to think that a $400 or $500 a month payment was a lot, and it was back then. But now, today, I do make more money. However, I have no car payments because I just hated that feeling of being kind of someone with their thumb on you, right? And what payments do is they trap you. If you think about money in a different way, I know everybody says, oh, the payments are fine. I'd rather drive a new car. I'd rather not work on cars. That's all fine. But just remember that when you're paying money out to people and you have debts, that just strips away your time and freedom. So the less debt you have, it doesn't matter how much money you make, the more free you are. There's one thing we can't buy, and that's time. How can you buy time? It's usually having less debt. Unless you're a multi-millionaire and you're playing different games. I think that auto manufacturers are taking advantage of the lending practices. And if the lending practices get fixed, I really think that the car market will adjust quickly. If the lending could just get fixed, just a little more scrutiny on the underwriting, I think we'd see completely different behavior in the car market, truck market, and things would start to correct itself over time. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time.